Good morning, good afternoon. Welcome to Get to Know Onyx LX by LinkSpring. I'm Mark Peacock, Chief Marketing and Communication Officer, and thank you for joining us. We are delighted that you have joined us today on this webinar. We will be recording today's session and it will be posted and available on our YouTube channel. We'll send out a notification once it's posted. If you have questions, please use the chat function within the webinar platform tool. So our agenda today, I've already done the welcome. We'll do a general overview on the Onyx LX platform. We'll take a little bit deeper dive into our product portfolio. We'll do a little show and tell. We will leave a brief time for question and answers, and then we'll wrap it up. Our goal here is to go about 30 minutes. Joining me today is Pat Hirsch, Vice President, Strategic Accounts and OEM at LinkSpring, and Jason Mayo, Product Manager for Onyx LX and a member of our technical support team. So today's buildings demand simple integration across systems, equipment, and devices using BACnet. With Onyx LX, LinkSpring addresses this growing market need and continues our product strategy of helping customers achieve their delivery of automation and integration solutions with quick ROI and long-term scalability and reliability. With respect to BACnet, the global market share has continued to rise over the last 5 years, and now it is exceeding 60%. So exactly what is Onyx LX? Onyx LX is a modular, scalable portfolio of BACnet MSTP enabled configurable ASC controllers and digital room sensors that do deliver powerful control, connectivity, and visualization for buildings and facilities. They natively support BACnet MSTP, are already BTL listed, UL, and ETL certified, factory delivered with application programs, have already been field tested and proven, and are deployed in excess of 1,200 sites, seamlessly integrate with any BACnet building automation system. And one of the key things here, they are Niagara configurable. Also, the Onyx LX portfolio comes with simple configuration parameters using local HMI interfaces, BACnet objects under Niagara, or with simple light commercial software. Just set your configuration application parameters to meet the most required terminal HVAC equipment, such as VAVs, RTUs, FCUs, small air handlers, and others. They come factory pre-programmed with typical applications for HVAC equipment and VAVs, and pre-built configurable graphics along with site-specific graphics are also included. One good thing, or one of the many good things, is they can be deployed as standalone solutions for small to medium size opportunities and integrated into enterprise BACnet platform. They're ideal to provide automation to a market segment normally serviced by standalone applications such as programmable thermostats. The Onyx LX portfolio comes with power of native factory loaded applications to meet most small building opportunities. Again, to reiterate, there's 3 ways these can be configured: through local device keypad, Niagara 4, through BACnet objects, and utilizing the Onyx LX UI software tool that comes standard within the portfolio. Now I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Pat Hirsch, who's going to take a little bit deeper dive into the actual products within the portfolio. Pat?
Thank you, Mark. Jason, later in the presentation is going to walk us through some of the tools, I believe. But overall, there's generally 3 methods for configuration, which leads me to mention that one of the requirements we had put in place to onboard this technology was that we needed simple software configuration options that are also free. Now, Onyx UI, which you'll be seeing more of here in the near future, is a dedicated and free software configuration tool, which requires no licenses, no key fobs, no debating with the manufacturer about getting programming access for your project or your customer. I also want to mention that everything in the products that I will show here in a minute, it's all BACnet extractable. That includes the configuration points and the parameters, which to you guys means you have the flexibility to configure or program through Niagara or your preferred BACnet interface. This also includes the reasonable ability to download profiles, say from Niagara to uncommissioned units. And then to finish this up, I will mention that there is an effort underway right now to expand the programming capabilities for these products from Niagara, but it's not necessarily here nor there yet. So it's a short list of products. The first one I'm going to talk about or mention is the 848 controller. This is a 20-point application-specific product designed to address your typical RTU, fan coil unit, heat pump, and similar type applications. There's basically 2 model options available, the B848 and the BP848, of which the core difference between the 2 is the latter comes with handoff auto switches, which is pictured here. The inputs will accept mostly everything you would expect, 10K type 2 and type 3 thermistors, 0 to 10 volt DC inputs, as well as 0 to 20 milliamps. The outputs are rated for 10 to 30 volts, AC or DC, and they also can be configured as triacs. There is an internal selectable jumper that you could switch between internal or external power. I'll mention the ambient radiance on this. Now, this is just for stocking, was a negative 22 Fahrenheit to 122. I think the actual operating specifications a little bit lighter than that. I think it's a negative 13 Fahrenheit. But either way, they're pretty reliable. Have reliable ambient parameters or specifications that you could be using these inside of rooftop units comfortably. Lastly, I mentioned there is an independent network. It's called the TZ network, which I understand stands for temperature zone. And through this connection, you can add some wall modules, some dedicated wall module devices, which I'll be showing you a little bit later. Okay, so the VAV products, there's basically 2. The one pictured here, the BZ424, this likely will be the workhorse of your applications. It comes with an integral Belimo actuator. This particular model has 4 universal inputs, 2 analog outputs, and 4 binary outputs. Interesting, if you pop the cover off of this device, not only will you find the selectable dip switches for addressing and baud rate, but also underneath the cover are some handoff auto overrides, which is something unique that I haven't seen in a lot of VAVs. But these handoff auto overrides can override your binary and analog outputs. The analog outputs actually have an association with that, a little potentiometer that you could dial in your voltage if you so choose. Now, maybe you don't want your service people to have access or your balancers to have access to it, but it is something you do have a lot of flexibility manually to override these devices. Once again, we have a dedicated TZ wall module communication trunk. And in this case, it's capable of supporting up to 3 wall modules in an averaging or min-max type architecture. And then also there is a dedicated jumper where you can select the end of line resistor option on a particular unit. The BZ122, it's effectively, from a product standpoint, it's a mirror image of the 424. The difference here is that it comes with a lower count of I/O. This one has one universal input, two analog outputs, two binary outputs, and the price of it is reflective of the smaller amount of I/O. This device is somewhere around 12 or 14% more cost effective than the 424. Okay, so there are two smart stat options available. This first one, the 437 fan coil unit. This is once again, it's a BACnet application specific thermostat. This particular model's got 4 UIs, 3 AOs, and 6 binary outputs with a 7th jumper selectable AO BO option. It's pretty straightforward. The unit will facilitate standard fan coil applications, 2-pipe, 4-pipe applications. It is configurable through the Onyx UI configuration tool, as well as you can configure it through the stat itself, through the touchpad or the touch buttons, as well as everything's, once again, BACnet extractable, and you got a lot of capabilities to configure this device. It comes with optional humidity, passive infrared motion, and CO2 options. Similar model, we have the 437. There's a rooftop unit module. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it. It's functionally the same device, as in comparison, it's going to maintain a lot of the rooftop air handling applications that you would expect for dual stage options and modulating heat, coolant, and economizers, excuse me. So lastly, accessory to the VAV controllers, most specifically, as well as the 848s, is a couple of wall module options, the TZ100 and 200 digital wall module accessories. The TZ200, they're functionally, the performance on the temperature side is functionally the same. The TZ200 does have optional humidity, motion sensing, and CO2. So that's the end of the product overview. So I'm going to turn this over to Jason when you are ready.
I will, yeah, I'll take it on from here. So this is the Onyx LX UI. So this is the configuration software that we offer. That's no additional cost to anyone. And it's really simple to just select your application with the parameters that your job has, and set it up with the configurations that's already preloaded on these products. This is what it looks like from Niagara. So if you go to Niagara BACnet network and you discover these devices, this is how they come up. So you can do all this configuring through Niagara. I would recommend that you use the LX UI. It's a little easier to use as far as setting that up. But all of these parameters are actual, variables in BACnet that you can configure through Niagara just as you would the configuration software. And these are what the points look like when you discover them. So everything you're used to seeing in a VAV product is going to be here. It's all discoverable. It's all configurable right here through Niagara or the Onyx LX UI. The Onyx LX UI, it's going to have a cleaner look to it because it's not through BACnet. It's through its own front end. So that's why I recommend using that, because it's a little faster. But all these parameters are still selectable and configurable in Niagara. So I think what's really cool about this offering, and especially this software package, is that you don't have to be a building automation controls expert. You can be mechanical minded and have that aptitude and be just fine with this. It's really super easy to use. There's not a lot to understand. It's just straight out of the box, ready to go. And so the other neat thing about it, the great feature of it, is that for buildings that, small buildings that don't have automation in it yet, this is how you introduce automation to that customer and that building manager. And you can even provide them this software as their automation front end. And it works for them because they can understand it too. There's no training needed. So it's really simple to use, easy and fast, and I think everyone's going to love it.
Good. Well, thanks, Jason. So just to sum up before we get to a couple of questions that we've got that have come in. So when you look at the Onyx LX, it's competitively priced, it's very cost effective, easy to set up, and as both Pat and Jason have gone into a little bit more detail, very, very easy to program. Again, it comes pre-built with configurable graphics along with site-specific graphics and scheduling. It is scalable, already BTL certified and UL listed, can be deployed as a true standalone solution for the small, mid-sized projects. And just as Jason just mentioned, for those that don't have a building automation system, this is the beginnings, or this can introduce us into those particular opportunities. Integrates with additional third-party BACnet devices or controllers very, very easily. And we can't reiterate enough that the portfolio comes with the Onyx LX UI software that's included, and there is no additional cost. So resources. So all the information regarding their product is available on our resources site, resources at linkspring.com under Onyx LX. And for those of you on the phone that have not registered to have access to our resources site, please be sure to drop us a note and request that, and we'll see to it that you are able to get your login credentials to make use of the resources site. There's lots and lots of information there regarding Onyx LX, as well as all of our products, Genesis Edge, Genesis Connection, Niagara, and so forth. So a question, and I'm going to ask this for both Pat and Jason. Is there a way to customize an application should there be a need for a non-standard program? Pat, why don't you start us off?
Sure. I think what you're asking there is if you have something that lives outside of a standard application that comes with the unit, can we change it? Can we customize it? And the short answer is going to be yes. The method on how we do it is we're going to work with you guys to be able to see if we can add any customization into the product. So the best way to do that is to contact your representative, explain what your needs are, and then get us all involved, and we'll be able to address your requests. I'll tell you that we've already been opposed with this a few times with much success so far.
Good. And then another question, Pat, you mentioned some additional development being done with respect to Niagara. Can you just kind of repeat that and tell a little bit more, or what we know at this particular point in time?
Well, I think the short answer is part of the motivation, part of the value that we saw in this technology was its ability to be flexible for not only your applications today, but the value that we can add to the product going forward. And one of it is to be able to allow connections from Niagara to be a little more high level, if that's a good way to put it, to where you can do more direct programming through Niagara. Now, that's a little bit of a teaser because it necessarily doesn't exist, but by nature of the product, the fact that it's basically 100% BACnet extractable, it makes it a very doable option. So as we move forward, we're going to be able to see more flexibility in programming through the interface. The second part of that question might be, what can you do today? And as an example, if there are ways that you could, for example, commission an uncommissioned controller through Niagara, assuming you have a set profile. Those are the type of things we want to work through the guys as we go forward and as they get some training.
Okay. A question, Jason, maybe you can take this one. With respect to the Onyx LX UI software, how do you anticipate updates and revisions being handled?
That's a great question. So I think the best way to illustrate that would be it's within the realm of possibility that we could have 2 to 3 updates per year, but really this technology has been been stable for a long time, so that would be at the highest. So maybe 1 a year realistically, but I would put it out there that if we find bugs or we add features to the product, then we certainly want to deliver that to people.
Good, good. And one last question, and I'm purposely kind of saving this one for the last, is with respect to all the different BACnet options, this particular portfolio is on MSTP. Is there a reason why we selected MSTP first out of the block versus some of the other options within BACnet? Pat, and both you and Jason, please have at it.
You first, Pat.
I'll jump on that. So partly why we wanted to onboard this technology was that to fulfill specifically what we saw was somewhat of a hole in our BACnet MSTP capabilities. As you guys know, we are pressing forward with Genesis Edge to move that more in the application specific realm. Today we're offering some 14-point devices. We have a daisy chainable Ethernet connectivity option with the 514 today. And as you guys know, we're soon to be officially launching, or releasing, I should say, a VAV controller that runs in Niagara. So those products are coming forward. They're specific in the sense that they cover a lot of ground that certain projects and certain customer requirements may not need. And Onyx LX covers those specific BACnet MSTP applications where Niagara maybe, or a Genesis product may be overkill. And anyway, so long story short is that this allows us to be a little bit more competitive in that particular serial-based control market.
Good, thanks. Jason, I'm going to spare you the answer because we are definitely at our 30-minute time period here, and of which I want to keep us to that time period. So from all of us, Jason, Pat, myself, and Keneally on the back end, we thank you for joining us at today's webinar. Look forward to seeing you on future webinars. Stay tuned. Thank you. See you next time.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone.